Well, Bim Afolabi is the Conservative MP for Hitchin and Harpenden, and Bim is on the line now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us on the show. So why has the Greenbelt land been sacrificed for development then, sir?
The reason, as that gentleman said, was the so-called unmet housing need from Luton, which, frankly, a lot of people have disputed, and I've got a lot of sympathy with it. But ultimately, that was the decision made, and the local council made that decision when they did the local plan, and the current council is pushing ahead with this very quickly. And so, I completely understand my residents' concerns.
So is this new proposed development now part of Luton or North Herts?
It's part of North Herts, and so how it works is local authorities are meant to cooperate and collaborate, which makes sense, around housing. But this particular group of 2,000 houses was done to satisfy what's deemed unmet need from Luton. And look, I completely have sympathy with those who say that, this calculation was done poorly and in a flawed way, and I agree with that. But the problem is the decision has been made and the local council pushed ahead with it. So what I can do in this instance is I can work with residents around all the infrastructure, around making sure that is done correctly, making sure we get a new GP surgery in there quickly, not when all the houses are built, but as soon as possible, and various other things that can hopefully mitigate a lot of the worst elements.
So is that fair, though, for North Herts to have housing? For Luton, surely Herts also has to have its own new housing as well?
Yes, but how the planning system works all over the country is that where you have where effectively neighbouring local authorities have to cooperate. And so in and of itself, that's not an unusual issue.
Okay, and with this plan that we're seeing, why does the plan not show roads out of the village to be rebuilt or to accommodate the extra traffic? Because, as soon as we broke this story, everybody's coming back with the same, argument. Traffic going to Hitchin and Luton is already bad enough, and this is going to make it worse.
Yep, I agree. And that's one of the things I'll be bringing up with the developers. Trust me.
But why wouldn't the developers... Well, this is what I don't understand, babe, and maybe you can explain it to me. And like everybody in Beds, Herts and Bucks, we've all been affected by developments. Why is it not put in at the beginning so we can almost embrace the plan? Why have you got to hit us with a stick and get us upset first? Why don't the plan show the roads?
Yes, it should be put in at the beginning. And I think that, frankly, let's take this instance. What should happen is those planning and infrastructure upgrades, particularly the transport, should be done at first as the houses are beginning to be built, not waiting to the end. And that's something, trust me, that I'm focused on as I deal with the local developers.
Including doctor surgeries, dentists?
Doctor surgery is my number one concern here, even higher than traffic, which I have a huge concern about. It's so important that we make sure that primary care service for people, so that if people want to see a doctor, they don't overwhelm the existing capacity. It's so important we get that in as soon as possible.
But I don't understand why it's not put in at the beginning. I mean, this is your government that is putting pressure on authorities to build more housing, and I think we all appreciate that we need more housing. Of course we do. But why is the developer wagging the tail of the dog, as they say?
Well, I'm afraid that's not, when you mention the point about the government, that's not quite right. In different parts of the country, different local authorities, different outcomes occur, and so. And I'm not blaming North Herts Council, I want to be careful about that. They've got a difficult job to do. But I think that now the focus needs to be ensuring that the developers put the infrastructure in up front. And that's what I'll be telling the council, that's what I'll be telling the developers, and I'm happy to come back and talk to you if they have not delivered on that. Local
residents are asking why you haven't intervened earlier.
Well, because it's the local council's decision. The local plan is passed by local councils for very good reason. They don't allow local MPs to have a veto on local plans, because you can imagine, how difficult that will be across the country. So, as a local member of parliament, my mandate is to stand up for my residents, to voice their concerns, to deal with the developers, to deal with the council, to see if we can get the planning right in terms of infrastructure and all those other things. But I can't, I'm afraid, stop or approve developments.
Only 5 homes have been given planning permission in this area since 2011. There'll be other people listening to this radio station in Beds, Herts and Bucks saying, well, look, Crocodile have got to do their bit. You know, they got to take their fair share. We've all had to suck it up.
Well, that's why I haven't said that there should be no houses. What I've said is that what we have to do is make sure that when we do have houses, they're done in the most sympathetic, affordable way possible, done with the right planning, the right infrastructure, so that local people benefit from new homes and new people and new communities. And there are benefits. You know, you have instances where local pubs will get more support. They'll have local immunities, new communities being formed of younger people who want a chance to own their own home and live in our wonderful area. You know, I live literally minutes from there. So I really do appreciate, you know, the difficulties and the concerns that people have. But what we've also got to do is to make sure that that is spread fairly and that infrastructure improves the lives for everybody.
Is this a done deal, Bim? Will these 2,100 homes definitely be built, in your opinion?
Well, I think it is in the local plan. And so eventually, almost certainly those homes will be built. But it really depends on how and with what support and infrastructure. That is the key thing. And, you know, there are lots of instances all over the country where things in local plans don't get built. And the reason why is because of difficulties on those matters. So what I advise the developer to do is to engage very positively with local people, particularly around the transport concerns and others.
Bim, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. Real
on the
pleasure.
show. Thank you. Bim Avalami there, who's the Conservative MP for Hitchin and Harpenden.